Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How is everybody tonight? Hope you had a fantastic weekend. So, we are back, and we are delving into the dark depths of Khazad-dûm. We are going to be exploring through the Doors of Durin, the Moria campaign expansion from Free League Publishing for their One Ring role-playing game. Before we get started, of course, thank you to Free League Publishing for providing a copy of this book for tonight's show. And of course, I guess we've got to jump straight on to spoilers, just to make everybody aware that there is the possibility that we will see some aspects that if you are a player you might not want to see, so be wary of that as we explore. If I feel like we're getting to something that might be a bit spoilerish, I will give you a shout out so that you can stop the video at that point. If you do have any questions, please do jot them into the chat or leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer those for you. Alright, let's go to the table and take a look. So, here we go. The One Ring, Moria, through the Doors of Durin. Let's take a look at the back. Oh, it's a bit of a hefty book. So then, here we go. For long ages, the great city of the Dwaradelf was the seat of dwarven kings. Deep they delved beneath the roots of the mountains in search of Mithril, the fabled Moria silver. Wonders they wrought there by the light of crystal lamps. But 1,000 years ago, Durin's bane arose and drove the dwarves from their halls. The city fell into darkness, becoming an abode of orcs, goblins, and worse. But now there is hope. Countless orcs perished at the Battle of the Five Armies, and it may be the halls of Durin lie empty once more, waiting to be reclaimed by those with the courage to face the long dark under the mountain. Maybe there are piles of treasure there, waiting to be claimed. Maybe Mithril still glimmers in the mines under Khazad-dûm. Cross the dreaded threshold, adventurer, and delve deep. Moria Through the Doors of Durin is a supplement for the One Ring, the official tabletop role-playing game based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Set in the years before Balin's doomed expedition, this supplement contains a hoard of patrons, landmarks, foes, encounters, and treasures that a Loremaster can use to construct their own adventures in Moria, from a single desperate journey in the dark to a grand campaign to retake Durin's halls. There we go. All right, let's take a look in this hefty tome. You guys, if you're familiar with Free League Publishing's books, you'll know that the quality is excellent throughout, and that is the case with this book. It is very hefty, good hardbacked version, 2 bookmark strands here to keep your pages, which of course are very useful. I do particularly like the paper stock that they use within this. It does give it a feel of an old book. I also really like the graphic design throughout. I love these sort of sepia illustrations. So you can't really call it full colour, I guess, because literally there's about 4 colours to the entire book. But fits the theme incredibly well, and I really do enjoy it. So production is amazing. But let's go to the beginning. We're already delving deep. And I guess I've got to start with the internal pages here. Of course, this is a wonderful depiction of Moria, both from a top-down view and then, of course, this side-on perspective, so that we can see Old Moria here, West Moria here. Now, I've got to get this right, haven't I? The Doors of Durin is number 27, which is over on this side. And the Dimral Gate is number 2. So that's it. There we go. So I was doing this before the show. You can tell. So this is where Gandalf and the party enter. Number 27, the Doors of Durin. And of course, they work their way all the way through to Old Moria, across the bridge. I've got to get this right. Where's the bridge? It is number 6, I believe. First hall, Durin's Bridge. There we go. With the bottomless chasm, number 8. And then they come out into the Dimral Dale. And of course, that's the thing, isn't it? With this particular book, you are instantly going to gravitate towards the scenes that you watched in the Lord of the Rings films by Peter Jackson, or that you actually read in the book. And you spend forever looking through this map, trying to find all the little locations. And I guess they are there. Now, I'm no Tolkien scholar, but I've managed to find the little parts that I kind of remember. So I think this is great. At the back of the book, there is a large poster-sized version of this map. So you would be able to put this out onto the table for your players to be able to enjoy. But I guarantee it will stop your game, as everybody spends a good half an hour scrutinizing the map and looking at all the various locations. Amazing attention to detail. It really is fantastic. We take a look at the credits page here. Just to point out, it's lead writer Gareth Hanrahan, and of course an amazing team of artists who provide all the wonderful illustrations throughout the book. You know, kudos to the team. You can tell as you start going through how much they are fans of the source material and are trying to create a authentic and realistic version of Moria that goes beyond Tolkien's work, but to try and remain faithful to the environment, the location that Tolkien created. And that, of course, is very important, especially to fans of Lord of the Rings. They obviously want to experience something that feels like it was an extension of Tolkien's work, and that does come through with this. So a tip of the cap to Gareth and the team. You'll be used to this style of artwork if you already have the One Ring role-playing game. It reminds me, oh gosh, I'm trying to wrap my brains to think of the artist. I want to say it's John Howe. Chat, you can correct me on that. Reminds me of some of his artwork. So we have, first of all, an introduction. I do appreciate this little area here where basically it highlights the main points within the book. So we have the introduction that describes the history and shape of the place now called Moria. At the gates, the trumpets rang discusses several groups interested in Moria in the present era. These groups might be patrons or rivals to the player heroes. Journeys in the Dark contains a set of journey rules adjusted for underground exploration, as well as Moria-specific eye awareness rules. Fell Foes lists the orcs and other enemies that may be found in the city, and rules for risking an encounter with Durin's Bane. Yes, we got the Balrog. The Mansions of the Dwarves is the largest part of the book, describing landmarks and hazards in the various regions of Moria. And then we have the appendix, which described the largest expedition to brave Moria, Balin's expedition, from 2989 to 2994, and magical treasures that might be found in Moria. It also presents a new playable culture of dwarves, the dwarves of Nogrod and Belegost. Okay, I think I've skipped. Have I skipped? Yes, there we go. So what I've just explained, you can see in the contents page. So, as you can see, sections 1, 2, and 3 are quite small, as is, and so is 4. As soon as we get to section 5 is absolutely huge, and that takes up the majority of the book. And we have over 225 pages to it. So let's jump on in. So we get a timeline of the city from the first, second, and third ages. Of course, currently the Rings of Power is available on Amazon Prime, which is covering the second age, and the third age is, of course, primarily that's the Hobbit, isn't it? And the Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson movies. And I guess that is readily available information as far as it's part of probably the appendices from the Lord of the Rings, the actual novel itself, isn't it? So we then jump straight into chapter 2, detailing how you would use Moria in your games. And the main aspect to this is, because of course the game is set prior to the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, so in that interim between the second age and the third age, you already know that you cannot take Moria, because of course that doesn't happen. We know what happens with Balin's fated expedition, and of course the book does go into some of those details. So what this book does is it's trying to give lore masters information to be able to set mini adventures, mini quests within Moria. So you can go and visit, but you ultimately know that you're not going to be taking over. You're just going to get to see a little glimpse, because there are, of course, many, many enemies to be found in Moria if you make too much noise. So it's saying here, campaign focus, searching for various treasures. I guess Mithril would be the main thing, and of course, there we go. It does point it out right there. And then we have a section here about Moria and the wider world, talking, of course, about the dwarves and bringing in some of the patrons that the player heroes might be working for. Fora, daughter of Dwalin, a dwarven princess. Maybe she doesn't speak with a Scottish accent. I don't think all dwarves need to be Scottish. Daza the Red-Handed. So these are dwarves from other houses. This is dwarves of Nogrod. Again, I love the artwork within this. Absolutely amazing. It's hyper detailed, but very sort of simple. All just, essentially just pencil drawn, but beautiful. Really, really nice. So much character to the illustrations. We have a little bit of text on elves, and then middlemen and hobbits. And then we have a name of ill omen. Rumours. So should the player hero seek out Tales of Moria, then call for a lore roll. Ah, so we have some false rumours here. I should have brought some dice. So false rumours, where it's been a failed lore roll. Giants dwell in the misty mountains, and their graves lie under the mountain. Let them sleep there until the world's ending. Moria, it's a roost of orcs and goblins. There's nothing there but evil and orcs. Because, of course, orcs are inherently evil. Genuine rumours. Okay, so this is if you are successful with your lore roll. What do we have here? It's dangerous to be in the Dimril Dale at night. The orcs cannot abide sunlight, but as soon as the sun sets, they go abroad. And of course, that's something that Aragorn says, doesn't he? Once the Fellowship sort of catching their breath and mourning the loss of Gandalf. Spoilers! Spoilers if you haven't watched or read The Lord of the Rings. Oops. But Aragorn is trying to hurry the party to actually leave for fear of it going night and the goblins coming out of Moria. So, of course, they need to make haste to Lothlorien. What else do we have? Oh, this is interesting. I once heard a tale of the spirit of Caradhras. She was a beautiful woman with red lips, but her kiss was the icy wind of winter. If you encounter her, beware. And then we got what famous landmarks, obscure landmarks, and giving us page references. Should we roll for those? So we go into a little bit of detail. Running Moria. So Moria is not a fortress of the enemy like Barad-dûr or Minas Morgul. It's not a dungeon brimming with traps and monsters. Yeah, you see, you always think of Moria as being a dungeon, but it isn't, is it? There are traps and monsters here, but for the most part, Moria is empty. It is a ruined city, endless and bleak. The air heavy with melancholic gloom. Exploring Moria is not a madcap adventure that bounces from one weird encounter to another. For the most part, it is a cold march through a dark place, silent and lonely as the grave. Fear and gloom should be the campaign's dominant moods. Wow. So, as it says here, this is the challenge for the Loremaster then is cultivating that mood without the game becoming dull or repetitive. And it's great that the designers have obviously considered that and then gives the Loremaster the rules and the guidance they need to be able to put forward a compelling adventure. So we have few little ideas here as to where or what our player heroes could be doing in Moria. I guess that's the thing, isn't it, with the One Ring? You kind of want to experience some of the events that occur in the novels, but of course you can't sort of step on the toes of those characters, and so you're playing around them a little bit. You want the essence of being there in Middle-earth, but not interfering with its well-established lore and history. We're on to Chapter 3, Journeys in the Dark. They have a cave troll. So, when a company enters Moria with the intention of reaching a known location, a landmark shown on a map, for example, or to travel through the ruins to exit the opposite way, then the Loremaster must apply the following adaptation of the journey rules. So, goes through the rules of making that long walk. Was it 3 days to walk through Moria? Oh, and then we get some little paragraphs here on how to describe Moria as you're going through. Oh, this is good. Groaning of the mountains. The walls around the company creak and dust falls as the mountain shifts and settles. A distant groan, so deep they feel it in their bones rather than hearing it, echoes through the room. Dark dreams. Everyone shares the same awful nightmare of running through the dark halls of Moria, pursued by a figure of smoke and fire. And then right at the end, oh, this is great. So we've got quite a few here. Strange winds and broken tools and distant machinery. It then comes to echoing silence and the very final entry. Drums in the deep. They are coming. Fantastic. You see, you can see the love that the designers have imbued into this campaign expansion. It's brilliant. So then we go to drums in the deep, making a noise. So you get in your rules here, the types of encounters you might face. Oh, and then of course we have to have some roll tables, dire portents, an orc assault. What else do we have? Terrors of the dark. Fantastic. And then we have a random chamber generator. Oh, this is great. Because, of course, with Moria being so vast, there's going to be many chambers that are not necessarily detailed, and we need a little bit of information about them. So this allows you to do that. I do like my little roll tables. Okay, and then we have a random orc band generator. As much as it may be empty in Moria, there is still plenty of adversaries to face. So what do we have here? So, random generator band of orc roaming into Moria. So we can potentially have one great orc bodyguard, or an orc guard and an archer, 2 orc soldiers, orc guard, orc soldier, goblin archer. Okay. Because you wouldn't want too many, because of course that would start making too much noise and then others would be aware of your presence. Fell foes. So it now starts to detail the types of creatures and monsters that you might encounter as you explore Moria. Of course, I never thought of orcs being the primary creatures that you would find. I always thought it was goblins. Again, I'm no Tolkien scholar, but I always saw orcs as being for Mordor and Saruman, whereas goblins seem to inhabit Moria. Dwarves. So maybe there are some dwarves still in those great halls. And then, of course, the Balrog. Again, this is another aspect that I always say when we look through any of these kind of campaign supplements or guidebooks, that if you are a fan of that particular property, be it we've looked at sci-fi, so we've looked at Star Trek predominantly. This, of course, being for your fantasy, so fan of Lord of the Rings. These are great books to get, even if you never play the role-playing game. Just enjoying the read through and learning about the history of the locations and getting your imagination fired up. So what do we have? Cave bats, marrow eaters. Again, I don't know whether these are actually part of Tolkien's lore or if these are something that has been created by the designers, but they're doing it in the style of Tolkien, and of course that's the important aspect, isn't it? Stone toads. Huge toads may be found in the wet caves of Moria, like the gardens of, oh gosh, Gardens of Thrim Thistlebeard. Good evening, Roger. Thank you for joining us. We're exploring the dark depths of Moria, going through Khazad-dûm. So, as I said before, that's the first 4 chapters. So yes, looking at this now, I thought I'd see goblins, and there's no goblins. So I've learnt something today. Orcs of... is that Udun? Udun? We got a few extra. Ah, oh, here we go. I miss ash wraiths. That's something different. So, this is now the largest chapter to the book, the Mansions of the Dwarves. And if I had the space, I would lay out the map here so that you are able to enjoy as we go through and take a look. But pretty much, this is a guide to the entirety of Moria. So we have the Dimral Dale and the Dimral Stair. And I like how it points out that these are famous. So you know that this is a landmark which is featured in the book and of course within the movies. We get these wonderful illustrations again, and it breaks down each of these locations to all the key points, and of course we put little markers. Now when I looked at this the first time, I thought that this was where the Watcher in the Water was, but it's going the other way around. And each of these locations potentially might bring in characters that the adventurers may meet. Again, so we had that was famous. This oh gosh, I can't even say this. The mounds of... oh, where's an easier description? Like Azan ul Bizarre. Yeah, you guys can probably have a better idea in your minds as to how to say that. I, of course, have ruined it. But these are barrows where those who fell in the battle of the Dimral Dale were laid to rest. But they don't rest soundly. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, these are burial mounds. Azan ul Bizarre. All Bizarre. Yeah, let's go with that. The East Gate of Moria. We got locations. So again, yeah, we have a nice illustration. We have some key locations to which then it details. Brings in gaming aspects in this. We've got nice descriptions, gaming elements, things for players and the Loremaster to consider. I mean, it's just glorious. hidden locations. Roger, you really like the art in the book. It is absolutely fantastic. I was saying before that, I mean, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, this is a must-have. Really is. The Dwarrow-delf, look at that. Isn't that fantastic? It is beautiful. So in fact, you know, I tell a lie, I thought it was maybe a 4-colour book, but we've got colour seeping in. They just use it just ever so sparingly just to accentuate some of these illustrations. King's Hall. See, these look like goblins. They look more like goblins to me. So the good thing about it is you could have your players, I mean, they could just do a little adventure in one of these areas, and that's it. You don't have to have your players on an epic campaign going through all of Moria. The Fortress of Malek. So I think maybe where they are obscure, maybe this is where Free League's designers have created something, whereas those that are famous are actually part of the lore. But the great thing about what the team have done here is you don't feel that what they've created is out of place. It fits in with everything else. Again, can't emphasize it enough, it's having respect of the lore. And I think that is so, so important. Mounting galleries. See? Oh yeah, here we go. A goblin from a goblin village. So we do have goblins. I thought so. The Sword of Sauron. I am sort of skipping through this because there is so much to see. West Moria. I do want to just find the Watcher in the Water. That's actually the one thing that I didn't. So here we go. Doors of Durin. They say only the Doors of Durin, Lord of Moria. Speak, friend, and enter. There we go. So, this must be the pool at the West Gate. Records of Balin's ill-fated expedition imply that the orcs or the Watcher in the Water damaged the gate stream. So where's the gate stream? Gate stream is number 3. So that's here. But where's the Watcher in the Water? I feel like I need to find that. Ah, Goblin Village. But this is within. So this is within the actual Moria itself, because Moria is so vast. I'm going to skip through. We don't want to see too much. Oh, there we go. We're getting more goblins. I'm happy that we're getting more goblins. So, pretty much. Here we go. Here we go. Is that it? Foundations of stone. Watches in the water. The monster lurks in deep waters, emerges on the surface to attack with its long, pale green tentacles. So we do have the Watcher in the water. But it's not. The waters of the Misty Mountains rush east and west, feeding the great Anduin. The lakes sometimes swell and rise. Okay. So one such lake lies far, far below Durin's bridge. So didn't the Watcher in the water close the gate and collapse the trees over the door? Yes, but the time period that this book and the game is set, those events have not happened yet. So the One Ring is set after the end of the Second Age, at the beginning of the Third Age. So it is before Balin actually goes back to try and reclaim Moria. It's before The Hobbit. In effect, it's kind of after the events of Rings of Power, before the events of The Hobbit. If you take TV series and movies as a bit of a guidance. So here we go. We get to the appendix, and it does talk then about Balin's expedition. So if you remember, Balin was part of the company that accompanied Thorin Oakenshield to the... It's not the Misty Mountains. Oh, gosh. It's the Lake Town, and, of course, Smaug the Dragon. So the Misty Mountains is where Moria is. What's the name of the mountains? Oh, gosh. But here we go. We do actually have a bit of a timeline. Now, I imagine that this will be taken from the appendices and then just expanded upon. So, sorry, the appendices as in The Lord of the Rings. But it says here, no, Balin returns to Moria in the year 2989, almost 25 years later than the default date for the One Ring campaign. All the information contained in this volume refers to the situation in 2965. I'm just trying to... So it's Man of the Dale. Play through the expedition from glorious beginnings to last age. Your player heroes should be mostly dwarves, or a Man of a Dale, or Lake Town, or maybe a hobbit or two is perfectly acceptable. See, what would help me, and maybe other people, but mostly what would help me, is having something where it does mention what is part of Lord of the Rings Tolkien lore and how these elements fit on in. I think that would always be helpful. So it does actually, well, there we go. So the search for Thrain. Gandalf goes looking for Thrain. So in fact, actually, I think it just incorporates it. Oh, here we go. Both Gandalf the Grey and Aragorn enter Moria long before the events narrated in The Lord of the Rings. Neither of their journeys happened around 2965, but a game might include references to Gandalf's expedition. Okay, so Gandalf looking for Thrain, and then Aragorn, because of course Aragorn does say that he had gone through Moria. We've got a little section here on Mithril. Moria Magical Treasure Index. Treasures that could be found. Silver Dream of the Smith. Or the Harp of Cascades. It did say at the beginning that it was introducing 2 new dwarven clans, so the Nogrod and the Belegost. And then I marked this one. Solo play in Moria. Strider mode. So the One Ring does have rules for solo play, as in the Strider mode, but it has now details for venturing into Moria itself. I thought that was that's quite neat. So again, lots of great roll tables, planning your mission. There's a lot of detail here. Yeah, well, there's a lot. Details on your battles, duels. And then, finally, you got a character sheet there. And that's it. So, water... Yeah, for Watcher in the Water, page 175. I think we did touch on it, but... Yeah, that was it. So... I guess the way I read this is, of course, where, because it's going to be hundreds of years between where this book is set and when, of course, the Fellowship of the Ring make their journey through Moria, and the lands will have changed. So I think that's the sort of the creative license they've got to be able to just change things slightly, because of its different time setting, but at least you can have an encounter with the Watcher. Maybe it loses a couple of its arms, but it still needs them. Or maybe this is it's the young of this particular Watcher that the Fellowship encounter. Right at the back, as I say, we do have the Moria map. And we do have this wonderful fold-out version. Look at this. Oh, there we go. We can just fit it on just about. Isn't that fantastic? So that is Durin's Bridge. That is where we lose Gandalf. And we start all the way over here. So what an amazing adventure you could have, winding your way through. And I like how some areas of the map, it's not complete. And of course, that means that these areas where we have nothingness, this is where we randomly generate things. As we're aimlessly walking a little bit through. But we've got the main parts all detailed. What a beautiful map. I think that I might have to get this framed and placed upon a wall. Who wouldn't want a map of Moria hanging in their study room? So there we go. I've got nothing but praise for this book. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And a welcome addition to the other books within the One Ring role-playing game line. I hope that they do more like this, because not only is it a great addition to the game, but it's a fantastic read for fans of Tolkien's work. And you can just enjoy reading through and exploring in more detail one of the great locations in Middle-earth. I wonder, maybe would Minas Tirith, would that make an interesting location? Because maybe there are lots of little adventures that could be had within Minas Tirith. So there we are. That is The One Ring, Moria through the Doors of Durin. On Thursday evening, we're going to be taking a look at a tabletop game. We are going to be experiencing an epic clash of Greek and Norse pantheons as we take a look at Divinus from Lucky Duck Games. This is a tile-laying board game, but it is a legacy game. It is a game that evolves every time you play. Now, I've been playing it for a couple of weeks, so I've got to be careful as to what I share with you, but I'll be most definitely able to share my thoughts on how the game plays and hopefully be able to show you a little bit of the gameplay so you get an idea as well. So that's what we're going to do on Thursday night. If you are available to join on in, then you can potentially play as the second player. Give me some guidance as to what you want to do. Let's see if we can play a little game from it. Yeah, we're going to have the epic clash of Greek and Norse pantheons on Thursday evening from 7 o'clock. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Again, if you have any questions about The One Ring, please do leave them in the comments. And of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It all helps the channel grow. Right, I think that brings us pretty much to an end. So have a good rest of your evening and look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, bye for now.